Hey everybody, today we're going to be changing oil on this 2008 Cobalt, and we're going to discuss why you should be changing your own oil at home, not taking it to a dealer definitely to do it if your car's not under warranty, and most especially not going to one of those quickie oil change places to have them do it, because you're not saving money and you're definitely not helping your car. So let's get started. So this is oil change purchases only. I'm going to get to upfront costs in a bit. 5 liters of 5W30 Mobil 1 full synthetic. It's going to cost me $24.47 on Amazon. I'm not even trying to get a cheap price. I just pulled this up right quick. Also, my OEM filter from Acdelco on Amazon is $6.69. Our total cost for the oil change with OEM parts and top shelf oil, $31.16. Let's compare this to a quick oil change service. Here's a recent circular from Jiffy Lube showing a special with the original price for fully synthetic oil change with a filter, and I don't know if it's an OEM filter, but it does specify what oil it is. I believe it's Castrol, at a cost of $110 for the oil change, a difference of $78.84. Also keep in mind the cost in time and gas to travel to the site to have this done, and the fact that the people who work there are not ASC certified mechanics that are working on your car. If you've been paying attention and you want to change your oil at home, you may have to buy a couple of things to get going. Initial startup costs would include ramps if you don't have a jack or jack stands or not comfortable with them. Showing here on Amazon for $60. I've seen them cheaper on Costco or BJ's. Of course, there's the option for a jack and jack stands, though if you're doing more than changing your oil, I would implore you to get a much better set than this. A container to collect the used oil from the car, which you would then take back to a place like AutoZone. They will take that oil back from you for free. And finally, a 1 1/4 inch socket specifically for the oil filter cap on the Chevy Cobalt 2008. Could be other years too. There's 1/2 inch drive. I'm not including basic tools in this video. I'm just including the special tools. I'm assuming that everybody doing this has a ratchet set. If you had none of these items, you would end up coming out of pocket $16.89 on the first oil change as an investment, and then you would save money on every subsequent oil change. Let's go do an oil change. These are my ramps. I'm going to show them in this video and use them for informational purposes, though I do have jacks and jack stands that I generally use. So I take the ramps one at a time, line it up with the tire, make sure that it's centered and straight, push it under the tire a bit so it bites down. Looks just like that. I like to make this a 2-person job so one person drives up as another one watches, and my ramp doesn't have the rubber feet anymore, so it lunges forward. It also buckled in the front a little, so I'm going to break out my jack stands for extra safety. Make sure that handbrake is fully engaged. And I got into the car and realized that I needed my smaller jack stands for this. So I'm just going to slide it under the frame here, just in case something fails. The car's not going to fall on me. Safety first. It's not worth dying for an oil change. You got to think about this stuff before you get under a car. Just not worth it. So here we go. Now I got 2 ramps and I got 2 jack stands. I think I've done my due diligence for safety. So now I'll open up the hood, have a look inside, and we'll see that I had washed off all these plastics before I left to the store to pick up the filter and the oil, get all the sand and dirt off of it. And there's 2 areas where it's held in by rubber as well as by the oil cap. So I'm going to remove that oil cap now first. I'll lift up from here and then from the back here and remove this whole piece, immediately putting that oil cap back on before we get anything in there. I noticed up here at the top of the engine that a small rodent had moved in and taken some insulation material to build a nest between cylinders 2 and 3. I'll deal with that later. But here's why we removed that plastic piece. It exposes our oil filter. It was just behind the dipstick. As we approach the underside of the engine from the front of the car, we see this oil pan. On the rear of the oil pan there is a bolt. It's right over here. I'll point to it. This is the drain bolt for the oil pan. Consider if you've been driving today, this could be incredibly hot, so touch this. If this is really hot, too hot to touch, when you open this up, the oil coming out here could give you some serious burns. So keep this in mind. You may want to wait if it's going to scald you. At this point, make sure you have a collection pan on the ready and that it could hold at least as much oil as you're about to remove from your engine. We'll be using a 15mm socket or wrench, and I just tap it a couple times to break the tension. I'm not taking the bolt out yet. I'm bringing the collection container into position. I'm not putting it directly under it because the oil's not going to come out of here directly under. It's going to come out in an arc. So I want it forward of this bolt. Now you'll see I'm trying to remove the bolt which has been loosened without getting my hand directly in the stream of the oil. So I'm turning it and pulling the bolt out, and I realize I messed up right now because I did not pull the plug on the pan. So now I have to stick my hand in the oil. See, I messed up, but I left it in the video so we all could see. And this is going to get worse because now we could see the air that's coming up out of the pan because of the pressure is making a mess. So again, you got to pay attention to what you're doing. You make mistakes like this. This obviously wasn't a terrible mistake. It's minor. It's a little bit of cleanup. But you got to make sure that the plug is removed from the oil pan before you start draining into it. Just a little something I'm leaving in the video to show that everybody makes mistakes. I'm going to move on to the filter now as this continues to drain. And I'm going to let this drain for a good while. You may be able to get away with channel locks. Maybe you could get away with an adjustable wrench. But I recommend getting the correct 1 1/4 inch socket for doing the job right. I've added a 1/2 inch drive coupler to this. And I just unscrew it, no problem at all. Just have to make sure that you don't unscrew it too high or the socket gets stuck under that manifold right there. So now pull everything out and do the rest by hand. No problem at all. Let the filter drip a little bit into the holder before I flip it around quickly. And there it is. The filter is now removed. Now I'll pop it off from the cap and place it into my other oil pan. Let it drain out. This cap I'll clean out and inspect. Nothing of concern is inside. The threads are good. Everything seems fine. We could reuse this cap. OEM oil filter Acdelco PF457G. This will snap right into the cap. Put a little oil in that green O-ring. Ready for install. So I'll drop this whole unit right back in. And then I will turn it by hand to make sure that I don't cross thread it. After it's mostly turned in, will I tighten it all the way down with the socket and the ratchet. Do not over tighten this cap, just give it a gentle snug and that's it. And then I wipe up the surrounding area. The oil filter is done. All the while, the oil is still draining from the pan. Again, I want to make sure that this plastic cover is clean, paying special attention to where the oil cap goes so no sand falls into that area. I'll have to remove that cap now to install the cover. There's a mounting post over here, a mount from the oil cap, and a mounting post over here. So I'll lay the cover down roughly in a position. Push this first mount in. Align the oil cap, which is the second mount. And come around and push down this third mount. Now it's in place. I'll lock down the cover. And this is done. This whole area, just give it a wipe down. We're finished. And the oil's still draining. If we were at a commercial place, they'd be on 3 cars ahead of us by now. I'm going to go inside and do some video editing. The oil's now fully drained. We can see it's dripping like once every 30 seconds. And I'm going to clean the oil pan bolt. If a business were doing this to this extent, they would go out of business. Obviously, they can't do that. You could only drain it like this in your driveway. And this bolt is clean. It hasn't been leaking, so we're going to reuse it as is. And I'm going to clean around the bottom of the oil pan, remove any oil here. And we're going to put the bolt in always by hand as to not cross-thread it. That would be a shame to strip the threads in that pan, very expensive. We're going to turn it all the way in, goes in without any resistance. And I could tighten this by feel, but if you cannot, I would recommend using a torque wrench, taking this from 18 to about 20 foot-pounds. Now I'm going to clean up that mess that happened when my oil catch container exploded by not opening the drain plug on the bottom of it. And while I was down here, I found where the building materials were pilfered from that the rodent used. Let me tell you something, do not crawl out from under the car without dragging this container with you. I have seen some terrible things happen. Forgetting about the container, dropping the car off the ramps and spilling gallons of oil all over the driveway. It's terrible. Just close it up and get ready to deliver it to your auto parts store at the next visit. So just want to pull out the dipstick right quick just to clean it off of the old oil. Remove all the oil from the marking. Just put it right back in. Then we'll remove the oil cap. And I'm going to use a clean funnel because I know I'm going to make a mess if I don't use a funnel. Highly recommended. And this is a brand new bottle of 5 quarts. So I'm not going to use the entire bottle. What I'm going to do is I'm going to pour in about just over 4 quarts. And I'm going to stop there because it's easier to add oil than it is to remove it. So don't over add. Add just a little bit, too little, and then measure the last amount. I've been changing oil in this car for years, so I pretty much know exactly where to get it on this bottle. I'm not going to get an accurate reading on the ramps, so I'm going to drop the car back down. There's more than enough oil to run the engine now. It's just going to be a little low if anything. So I'm going to drop the hood. I'm going to drop it in reverse and very carefully drive it back down off of the ramp. Let the engine run for a minute and then shut it off. The level changes as oil makes its way to the filter. We'll have a look now that it's on level ground, and we see that it is right in the middle where it should be. A little bit low in this one, but given a couple minutes it'll probably rise up a bit more. So I'll check it again later, and if so, I'll add just a splash of oil, but I don't think it will need it. A little Windex cleans up the Firestone sticker I'm too lazy to remove, and a dry erase marker updates it for my own use. As I go through the computer, we'll see that the oil count based on mileage shows 29% is left. Obviously, that's not fully accounting for all conditions, but I'll reset it by holding these 2 buttons, and it'll say reset the oil status, and I'll hit the return button to accept, and now the oil status is back to 100%. One final cleaning wraps up the oil change in the driveway of this 2008 Chevy Cobalt. I hope you found this video enjoyable, entertaining, and informative, and a money saver. Do me a favor, hit that like button down below, helps me out a lot when you do, and hit that subscribe button for more videos like this when they come out. When the next video comes out, a link will be posted in the top right corner. Again, I hope you enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching.
Thanks for watching. Would you like to reply?